Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Think Rugby podcast. This is season 2, episode 31. My name is Andy Moore, and this weekend I will put my hands up and say I did not watch a lot of rugby. I watched the first half at Edinburgh, and I'm just not going to talk all that much about it. Anyway, this weekend it was dealt up LAR, so I'll put some photos onto the screen just now, and for those that want to see more of the burning of the galley, I'll put a link into the description where on my personal channel I have uploaded a small video giving people a sense of what all up LAR is in Shetland. That's the last one of the season. The fire festivals are all over. Xav, did you watch any ships getting burnt this weekend?
The only thing I did this weekend was look at mountains, climb up mountains and watch the team play, a local team play rugby in the mountains, to be honest. That's the only thing I really did this weekend. Of course, I kept up the scores, watched the highlights and all that. I wish I'd watched this bloody Glasgow game now, to be honest, but the Edinburgh game, yeah, we'll briefly kind of skim by it, but it was a bit of a lost cause. I'm sure you've got your strong views on certain players and maybe coaches in that department, but in terms of Glasgow, though, bloody hell, what an absolute just... A game where you go into, I know maybe Leinster didn't have like their full strength team, but they definitely had a very strong outfit out in Glasgow. They didn't have their strongest team either, and they put on a show. Unfortunately, I didn't get offered to go to the game, but I said no because I had made other commitments, i.e. being in the West Coast Mountains instead. But I did get offered to go to the Glasgow game, and I kind of low key I wish I did to watch that. Absolutely, it's like what I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest. Oh my god, like even the scoreline itself. Correct me if I'm wrong, the full-time score was 38-17 or something like that. It was definitely a considerable margin. I remember I watched it in the clubhouse where I was at, and I seen Mackenzie Duncan go over for Glasgow's first try, really well got try. And fair play to Mackenzie Duncan, his first professional contract. I'm getting on the score sheet after just signing his first professional contract. There was loads of stand-up players there in that Glasgow team. As I say, you're missing Hugh Jones, you're missing Tuipulotu, lots of players missing. Lancaster starting at 10 as well. So I was a bit sceptical to start with before going to the game. Were you sceptical at all looking at Glasgow's team sheet, or did you have a bit of confidence?
I don't know. I thought that it was the same as the beginning of the whatever season it was, the last time that Leinster went to Scotstoun, and yeah, I mean Glasgow won that game. It was after the last World Cup, so it would have been 2020. Glasgow, they had a kind of strong team out that day, and Leinster were missing all their big stars. This time around, both teams were without their big stars, and yeah, Glasgow got the win. What a try by Kyle Rowe, by the way.
Phenomenal. Oh yeah. I missed the try itself, but I looked back on the highlights and seen it. Genuinely, that could be up for try of the season in the URC. No doubt about it. It's refreshing to watch, especially wingers back themselves on the outside. And he backed himself on the outside, and he managed a little chip or grubber through, and then collect it to guard a bit and then score down the corner. I honestly like what a player, and that's a guy that got 0 minutes in the Six Nations. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 0 minutes. He wasn't on the bench for the last game, but it was 0 minutes. And every time I watch Carroll play, generally, and I know it's just like easy to say, but I feel he gets better every time I watch him play. I don't watch him play all the time, albeit, but every single time I see him play, and there's always some sort of highlight reel with Carroll on it to do something pretty spectacular. And I'm like, why is he not getting awarded for that? But look, if he keeps performing like that for Glasgow, like the door will come knocking on the international scene eventually when internationals come round again, and he's just got to take his chance because bloody hell, some player. And a great story as well for Carroll. Hopefully we can maybe get him on the podcast one day and get him to explain his story. But he came from a lot of adversity and managed to kind of weather a lot of storms, especially over the pandemic kind of time. Getting released from his Sevens contract and the other professional contracts and that, and working his way back up while working 12-hour shifts. And look at him, what he's doing now. He's absolutely scoring 10 out of 10 tries. Honestly, fair play. That was the highlight. That was one of the highlights. The other highlight, like I say, was Mackenzie Duncan's try after signing his first professional contract at the age of 23 as well, so he's still relatively young. And is he a viable replacement for Jack Dempsey, who's now came out and he's now away to Japan, I believe it is. I don't know if that club's been confirmed, but he's definitely leaving Glasgow at the end of the season. So is it a viable replacement for Jack Dempsey?
Who knows? I always flirt with the idea of Ruben Logan coming back up north and getting some game time and then eventually being bled into the Scotland team.
Not a bad shout, not a bad shout. Yeah. But we want to talk about Edinburgh.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet about Edinburgh because this is how,
Go on.
as much like I don't want to get my blood boiling too much, but this is such an incompetent sign by the SRU. Regardless of what happened in this Six Nations, how they handled the whole Gregor Townsend thing, awarding him a contract extension before the autumn internationals. Yeah, that bit made no sense. That's going to be edited out. Whatever. I said it on Twitter, and I'm going to repeat myself again. I have got polystyrene tripods that are more stable than Edinburgh's defence. That's how bad they are at the minute. Sean Everett has came in and things are more or less as bad now as what they were the last time that they went to the Lions and got their pants pulled down, basically. That's how bad they are. A lot of assistants have gone or are leaving. Sean Everett is still at the helm. I mean, the writing's on the wall, and the only way I think the SRU will react is if folk don't renew their season tickets. And people like me who think that a spur of the moment trip down to Edinburgh for a game, don't buy a ticket. Don't do what I'm doing and don't buy a ticket. Anyway, the last game of the season is going to be on the 15th of May against Connacht. I will be delighted if I am wrong, but I can't see them getting into the playoffs because they've only won 4 out of 13 games this season, 3 at home, 1 away, all of which have been narrow margins, and there's not a chance that they will be beating Leinster at the Aviva to progress in the Champions Cup. That is not happening. So that is all I've got to say about Edinburgh.
That was quite a lot, to be fair, but fair enough. I appreciate that. Yeah, top eight seems a bit of a dream now. Like I say, if you've won 4 games out of 13, that's not playoff kind of standard in any sort of leagues. No, I think we can just kind of swiftly move on from that. It's a shame because we've got some cracking players, but it's just not clicking for certain reasons that we can maybe digest in another episode a bit in more depth, but we'll kind of swiftly move on from there. Okay, cool. But Glasgow are still top of the URC. They've got, it's between them and who else is top? Leinster aren't too far off, but I can't remember who exactly it is. But I think it's Stormers are
far away.
Bulls. They're kind of on their tails, but look, if Glasgow can hold out to the end of the season, perfect. They seem to be the team to beat just now. Okay, moving on. What we're discussing next, man.
One thing that came out in the press, and I sent this to you, and it was about should the 2035 World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, should that be held in Argentina? So, for those that don't know, Xav helped me out by doing for this, but since 2003, the following countries, and this will be ascending in every 4 years, have hosted the World Cup. So starting in 2003, obviously England won it, but it was held in Australia. Then it was France, New Zealand, England. That brings us up to 2019 in Japan, 2023 in France, in 2027 it will be in Australia, and in 2031 it's going to be in the USA.
So that leads us on to, as the headline said, should Argentina host the 2035 World Cup? For me, I've always kind of thought about it, and I remember speaking to a wise old man a few years ago about it, and kind of mentioning it. I was like, because I think they weren't sure if they would go, and I think you're maybe on the same wavelength. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I 100% would go if it was in Argentina. I think it would be a really interesting place to go, especially because it's never been in South America before. If I'd go aiming for North America for the first time, then why not try South America? Having said that, maybe sticking to the American continents maybe might be a bit much, and maybe they should wait till maybe 2039 up before they go to South America. So I'm optimistic about it. I think they should, but at the same time, that'll mean it's been a fair while since it's either been in like South Africa, even the UK have had it back in 2015, even New Zealand. New Zealand's not had it since 2011, so there's been a few kind of bigger countries or bigger nations that haven't had it in a considerable amount of time. However, now that rugby's growing a lot, that is why this is happening. So again, I think there's pretty much talk about being like a Middle East World Cup as well. But for me, it'd be like, no, thank you, enough's enough there. That does not make sense whatsoever. From a financial money point of view, yes, absolutely. But from any other point of view, no, not at all. And that's not within the ethics and morals of the game. But I think for South America, in Argentinian World Cup would be absolute class. It's a big, big country. So most of the country having said that, you can make it work. They made it work even when it was in France, it's a big country. And when they go to America, they're going to make it work as well. So I think it could work. What's your general kind of thought? What's your initial thoughts on the whole thing?
Kind of think what you alluded to there, which is if you have it in North America, is it kind of fair to have it in South America? Logistically as well, you said about New Zealand. I'm just putting it out there. New Zealand, I think the reason they've opted for Australia twice, 2003, is just the fact that it's so much easier to get to Australia, I would say, wherever you are in the world, rather than New Zealand. But I could be wrong with that. Certainly in Europe, which it's maybe not the be all and end all, but within Europe, in the same time zone, you do have South Africa. I think if South Africa win the next World Cup, they'll be up to 5. They will be, Rassie Erasmus will be banging on the fucking African drum that the 2035 goes to South Africa. But equally, I wouldn't say no against Scotland having it.
Scotland. I would say South Africa. I wouldn't mind South Africa, to be honest, because like I say, 2007 I think it was. No, I was France. Sorry, could have been 95 last time South Africa had it. It's been a while anyway.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind South Africa having it whatsoever. Go on then, Andy. Right, why should Scotland potentially be in contention for the 2035 World Cup? I'm intrigued to know.
We've got the stadiums. You've got Murrayfield, you've got Hampden, you've got Pittodrie, and then you've got the 2 Edinburgh clubs. So yeah,
And
you
then the 2
could.
Glasgow clubs as well. Sort of part
Yeah,
of
exactly. I'd forgotten about Rangers and Celtic. Silly me. Yeah, so that's like 4 stadiums that's got more than 40,000 seats, and
Yes. I reckon it would be a Scotland. I think it would be a British World Cup, or it would be maybe not English because England had their own one respectively, but maybe like an Ireland, Scotland, even Wales World Cup, which would be a bit kind of scattered in a way.
I'm not for that. I can kind of see if Ireland was to have it, because they would have Croke Park, the Aviva, and probably Thomond Park on top of that, and then probably some of their other GAA stadiums. But would I be right in saying that France held, what was it, 3 stadiums? I think one in Marseille, the Stade de France, and then whatever I can't remember. They only had the 3 stadiums. So.
France had a few. France did have a few because they went to Lille as well for a few games because I was there at Lille. Lovely stadium, lovely place as well if you want to go on holiday there. They had Stade de France, they had Marseille, there was another Nice, they were at Nice as well, so it was like the 4 stadiums that kind of bounced around between. So it is doable with less stadiums for sure. Like Australia are going for what, 5 main places? Perth.
It's pretty much all over the whole country.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. Unless you're on the East Coast, then you're absolutely cooked on the West Coast, to be fair. It is a trek and everything, but I love the transport for it already. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to go to that World Cup as well, to be fair. I honestly can't wait for it. But in terms of 2035 World Cup, yeah, I think I'd say let's give a top 3. My top 3 is going to be Argentina, South Africa, and I'll put it out there, I'll probably say New Zealand. To be honest, I'll probably say New Zealand.
I think I'd probably go along with you. I think the last, probably since Japan, they've had like one of their top tier, like their tier 1 established nation, and then they've got like a wild card emerging nation. Yeah, like the USA is. So I think the 2035 they will probably go for like an established tier 1 nation, probably South Africa, and then the one after that, 2039, maybe Argentina. But that's just my thought. I think we'll find. I can't remember when we find out.
Shaun Edwards has come out in the news, and he came out and long story short, he is not objecting to the idea of coaching and winning a rugby championship. So, Andy, what's the official kind of? Have you got like the Telegraph? Have you got like a snippet there to what in more depth, or was it much the same that you kind of seen a lot of kind of headlines saying Shaun Edwards would like to win a rugby championship before he's done with his coaching?
Pretty much, yeah. He is, quote, ambition to win a rugby championship, end quote. It would be after the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which I am assuming is when his contract with France runs out. I did a bit of digging, and I said to you off camera that Les Kiss with the Wallabies has appointed or pre-appointed Scott McLeod to be his defence coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just makes me think that Rassi Erasmus is going to be there until like, Anakin 2050, and I've got no idea about Contepone. So after 2027 World Cup, the All Blacks, depending on how things go, may or may not have a new coach on the go, but you would think that Sean Edwards would likely go there. The thing that's worth noting as well is he's got the ambition to win a rugby championship. That's not going to be happening this year or in 2028 because of the new Nations Championships. He has... It's 59 years young, Sean Edwards. He's no spring chicken, but hey, if he wants to put quotes like that out there, then yeah, by all means, go for it.
I reckon he could do it. He's shown what he can do in the Northern Hemisphere. Can he like kind of transition that and take over into the Southern Hemisphere? Which, in terms of club rugby, it's a lot more open. Like obviously his speciality is defence. He's able to like maybe lock down and use All Blacks and Australian defence, or even an Argentinian defence. I think South African defence is pretty sorted, but is able to lock them down and make them into a really, really, really like ball-beaten team, which they aren't quite just yet, to be honest. I'd be fascinated to see if he can do it. I think it'd be a great appointment wherever he went. Being Sean Edwards, he's phenomenal, to be honest. Only Scotland has somebody like that. Anyway, but I'm not going to get into that kind of little conversation.
But as soon as that news breaks, we will be covering right here, folks. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and continue to subscribe, and we will cover it all.
Let's get 200 subscribers. That's the goal. 200 subscribers. Not far away, to be honest. Hopefully this episode's going to bump it up as well. But as Andy just mentioned there, I'll just be a parrot. Subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, get involved. Where do you think the World Cup should be? Do you think that maybe Everett should get the boot? Do you think Edinburgh underperforming? Do you think Glasgow are overachieving? Do you think Glasgow win the whole URC outright? Who knows? Definitely in terms of the World Cup, leave your opinions on that on the World Cup, because that is going to be a big kind of talking point, especially going into next year as well, into next summer, as it gets closer and closer. Every single passing week, every single passing month that comes by, it'd be really interesting to see how everybody kind of thinks about it and how it goes and how it turns out. Yeah, cool. I think that's all the rugby news for this week, to be honest, Andy. It's been quite a quiet week with no internationals and that, so thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you, Andy.